So you guys have all sent in so many questions from like, how do you shower or how take care of yourself, all the way to like, did anybody self-pleasure?
Masturbate. Rub it out.
Did you give your nut one out while you were in there? Yes. Did you finger blast yourself whilst you were in camp?
Laura, how old are you, 15?
Oh, I'm the one who took it too far.
Yeah, rub one out. It's better than finger blast.
Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of Life Uncut. I'm Laura.
And I'm Brittany, and I'm back from the jungle on Aussie soil in person looking at you two. Well, three. And
Hello.
I missed you guys. We got Laura, producer Keeshia, and Jono, Butterboy. It's been so long.
I'm enjoying the roll call. It's been so long. She's back, everybody. Here
It's
she
been
is.
so long.
Looking great.
Oh, well, that's what happens with rice and bean diet for a month.
Cleans you out.
Oh, you don't even know the half of it. Like beans for me.
I don't need to know the half of it, to be fair.
I'll tell you.
I don't need to know the consistency. I don't need to know all of the details.
The evacuation. No, I'm back. But what I want to say is, and I don't know how I feel about it, I don't know if I want to be back. Part of me wants to be back in the jungle.
Britt's having an existential crisis.
Existential? Existential.
Existential?
I don't know. That sounded weird. I haven't used big words in a long time. I feel like, in this weird way, it's a bit of like Stockholm syndrome. And I feel bad saying that. But
You want to go back to Channel 10?
Not the 10, but back to my back to my captors. I felt like we were literally trapped in the jungle. Everything's controlled. Like you don't know the time. You get fed what you get fed and given. And I loved it. I learnt to love it.
Britt and I have barely seen each other. Like today is the first time that we've seen each other. Britt came back. She went straight to Port Macquarie. She's only been back for a couple of days, but I am at the same time learning about like the intricacies of how the jungle works. And I had no idea until this morning that you didn't even know the time of day. So when you're in there, they keep the time from you as a way of just kind of like fucking with your headspace.
Yeah. I don't know what the purpose is. It's obviously a psychological thing, but you have no concept of when you wake up, when you go to sleep, when you're eating, you know nothing. So you don't know if you've had 4 hours sleep, 8 hours sleep, which is sort of
Producer
good.
Keeshia would not cope with that. She's like, I need to know how many, like, what's my REM? How many hours of deep sleep have I had? She's like, I can't cope.
But you know what the thing is, and you know how people, Keeshia included, but you know how people have their sleep apps and their watches, and the first thing they do when they wake up is look at, like Ben does it, right?
Yeah,
he looks
your
at
Garmin.
Yeah.
Wait, Keish, what have you got? Oh, a Whoop.
Yeah, so
A
Ben
Whoop
has a
Whoop.
Whoop. And so he'll wake up in the morning and he'll be like, oh, great, I had this many hours of deep sleep. And I'm like, why do you look at that? Because you've had the sleep regardless. Why can't you just go off how you feel? Because it's a bit of a mind fuck, right? Because if you go onto your app and it goes, oh, you only got 1 hour, then you're set for the day being like, I only got 1 hour. When you wake up and you don't know the time, you don't know how many hours you slept, you go off how you feel. And you're like, feel good.
It's because sleep is now a competition because we compete in everything in life and sleep is part of that.
Yeah.
And we're all combined now competing for who is the best sleeper.
Yeah, what REM did you get?
I don't know. I genuinely am scared. Matt woke up yesterday and he has it. He's got a Garmin or whatever they're called. And he woke up and he was like, oh, I had 3 minutes. He had 3 minutes of awake time. That was it. So he woke up for 3 minutes. And then the rest of it was like a mix of deep sleep and REM and all the other things. He was like, oh, pretty good. Like 8 hours and 10 minutes last night. So in that time, like in that 8 hours and 10 minutes, whilst we were asleep in the middle of the night, Lola gets into our bed, right? So she climbs in, gets into bed. I woke him up and got him to go and get a bottle of water for her. So he got up out of bed. So for the 3 minutes, it was literally the 3 minutes that he woke up, walked out of the bed, filled the bottle up, walked back in bed, handed it to her, went straight back to sleep.
Laura,
and I was
you
like,
have a gold mine on your hands. You need to get a Whoop so that you can wake up in the morning and have proof of the difference in your night's sleep, and then you use that against him for weaponize that for the rest of the day. You're like, hey, you got 3 minutes. I didn't get any sleep, so now you're doing everything.
I think that would be the demise of our relationship. If I actually...
I'm buying you a Whoop. We'll put on the business. Put on the business. Yeah, that's a fail on your behalf. There's a golden egg opportunity there, and it's okay occasionally
Sometimes
to weaponize sleep against your partner.
Especially if you're not having any.
If you're not having it, yeah. And actually, let's be serious. It's not weaponizing it, but it's important if he has his data that you also have your data, and then he can do with that what you will.
When you enter an argument, if I've learned anything from this podcast, it's that if you're entering an argument, know what it is that you're arguing about.
Well, yeah,
have your facts ready. But this is the problem. What happens though then is then you start scorekeeping. You start tallying it up. You start being like, well, I only got this much sleep, so you did this, and then that's tit for tat, and that's when that's That's fucking bad stuff.
Have you ever had an argument with Matt where you're so deep in it and then you literally say to each other, what was the argument? Like, do you ever get so deep in the tit for tat thing that you don't remember what you were arguing about?
Because Matt is so grudgy. He really holds a grudge, which is also like he's very good at apologizing, but he still holds on to the grudge. So he knows. He will never lose track of an argument because he knows what we're arguing about because he's like, I'm going to use this information later. He's grudgy. Yeah.
Okay.
You do?
No, I don't hold a grudge, but I argue about really dumb stuff. Like I had an argument with Ben last night over the dumbest thing. And I know it's because I'm emotional. My hormones are through the roof. It shouldn't matter, but I've got my period and I haven't seen Ben in 4 months. Anyway, we had this done. He wants to get a tattoo and we have very different ideas of what tattoos he should get.
He should get whatever tattoo he wants. It's his body.
No, it's our body. No, he runs his tattoos by me, which I think is lovely. He's like, look, if I'm going to have a giant tattoo on my body for the rest of my life, it'd be nice if you liked it. And so it's not like I'm saying, well, I am saying no, actually. I do say no. But he and I like very different things. So we're trying to find something, and this is on him, not me. We're trying to find something that we both like. But he likes big dark portraits of stuff, and I like very fine line. Anyway, so we got to this one tattoo that I've convinced him. It's like a very star signy thing.
He's getting the zodiac on his body? What? Do I get a say?
Laura's got to chime in on Ben's tattoo. But there was this little part in it where I was like, look, you could leave that blank for now. And it's like very small writing part. I said, you could fill it maybe with really important things that happen in life. Maybe when we get engaged, wink, wink, wedding date, kids dates, whatever. There's room for really nice sentimental things because he's very sentimental. And then,
also, it works very well because if you're somebody who forgets dates a lot, you've just got them plastered all over your body. Matt's
100%.
got Marley's birth date, doesn't ever forget it because it's on his arm. Hasn't gotten around to getting Lola's yet. Always forgets it.
See the second child.
Yeah,
They
I know.
get
It's
nothing.
he needs to get that done before she's old enough to realize that he doesn't have it.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, so I thought this was really cute and I was rattling all this stuff. And then he goes, oh, yeah, maybe I'll get the first place we had nachos or the first place we had, and just started like taking the piss of my idea and like writing really dumb stuff back. And that was all. I cracked it. I was like, I'm not having this conversation with someone so immature. And he was like, babe, just have a laugh. And I was like, I'm done with this. I was like, you don't care about my feelings. And I just went into this whole ridiculous argument and like hung up the phone. I was like, I can't talk anymore. Then I sat on it for about 20 minutes and I was like, if I told Laura this tomorrow,
you're fucked.
Yeah.
Literally. But also that makes me think maybe there is a reason why you should be back in the jungle.
Yeah.
I think though, Britt, I don't think you realize how controversial it is to have a say in your partner's tattoos.
No, I know. We had a conversation on the podcast.
Yeah. I think it's nice that he is conscious enough and cares enough to ask you, but like I kind of think that you don't really get a say in your partner's tattoos. If they want to go and get something, you kind of just have to be okay with it.
Yeah, see, I disagree.
Oh, Matt's getting he's getting a turtle tattooed on him because he lost a bet. He lost a fucking running race because he's a grown child. He made a bet with our brother-in-law and he lost it. And now he has to go and get a tattoo of a turtle on his ass that's running.
Oh my God, that is so funny. At least it's on his butt.
And I have no say and I don't care. I couldn't care.
Yeah, but that's on his butt. No one sees that ever. But Ben's whole body is going to be covered. Like he's got legs and arms and whatever else. The only tattoo I've approved so far was the B for Brittany.
You're the problem. You are the problem. Well, look, I mean, as you guys know, if you've been listening to the podcast the last couple of weeks, producer Keeshia has been filling in for Britt. You have done an incredible job. You are. We love you. You're fucking amazing. I have loved doing records with you, Britt. We've missed you so much, and there's been so much around. I mean, we all watched. Oh, I'm not going to speak for everyone listening to podcasts. I watched it.
I don't think we all did.
So many of us watched I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. I so deeply enjoyed the season, not just because you were on it, but I think like Sky and Callum were absolutely fucking hilarious. I really enjoyed getting to know Tristan better. Like I think that everybody they chose on this season was a really great choice, and I think the casting was fucking brilliant.
And that was reflected on the inside too.
It was amazing.
The cast, because you know, obviously you film 24 hours a day. You guys get to see an hour and a half. The cast was amazing. Everyone was incredible. It was just like such a wholesome group of people.
To be fair, it felt like that show was not just an hour and a half. It felt like it was the show that never ended. Every night, poor Matt, because he was like, is this going to be my life until Britt gets out? Because it's on every night of the week.
You're like, yeah.
So every night we're sitting there watching it. I'm pretty sure it went for like 2 hours some nights.
Did it?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
It was
I
still
thought it was only an hour and a half.
It was still on at 9 o'clock and it started at 7.
Yeah, 7:30. That's an hour and a half.
Oh, so long.
I'm sorry it dragged
I
on.
was like, fuck, when is this ever going to end?
Yeah.
No, but it was brilliant. What this episode today is going to be is basically a deep dive on all things I'm a Celeb, all the things that you don't know about it. We put a question box out to you guys. You've asked so many questions around what does and doesn't happen. And I am just in the grey as you are because I have no idea. And Britt and I haven't had the opportunity to have these conversations yet. So it's like a learning experience for everybody.
100%. And I the cast really were incredible. And I know one of the big questions is, you know, like what was it actually like behind the scenes? Were there arguments and all that kind of stuff? And there really wasn't. The only argument that was had on the whole show, basically, that I was aware of was shown just between Candace and Sky. Like, there really, no shit really went down. There was a bit of bickering here and there over like people getting a bit short with people purely because you're in this tiny confined environment and there's like sometimes there's too many people in the kitchen helping, too many opinions going around, and sometimes people are like, I just need a second to myself.
Yeah. Also, I mean, when you have that many people who all have their own big personalities in ways, you're always going to have some sort of like not seeing eye to eye. I think there was one little, like, it wasn't a spat, it didn't go into anything, but you could feel, and it could be just editing, you could feel the kind of animosity that was brewing, and that was between Khan and Denise Drysdale.
That was
like,
real.
Yeah, it seemed like there was like friction there, but also I think it's generational thing. Like, it's different people from different walks of life all trying to come together and just cohabitate is challenging.
Yeah, and that wasn't even just Khan and Denise, it was everyone and Denise.
Oh, poor Denise.
Denise was really hard, really, really hard. Just very short, very blunt, often very rude, didn't really want to be there.
Do you think she realised she was being rude, or do you think it's just the way in which she communicates? Because that's also different, right?
I would hope she didn't realise she was being rude. But then sometimes I'm like, surely you have to know. Like, surely. But she's 75 and that was a really hard environment for anyone, let alone going in there at 75. Like, hats
thank
off to
God
her.
she didn't do any challenges. She might drop dead. I'd drop dead.
Well, I don't know what
I'm
she could have done.
38.
I know. I was like looking at half the challenges that people were doing every day would come back and we were like, Denise never could have done that. And that's not against Denise. It's literally a physicality thing. Like, you would have got knocked out or something. But let's get into it.
Yeah, okay. All right. Firstly, I want to know how you are. Like, how do you feel? And I mean it because there's been a lot happening since the show as well. But like, from when you went in to where you are now, it's been almost 6 weeks. Like, how are you feeling? How did you feel in there? And where is your mental health at now?
I feel good, but I've had very up and downs, to be honest. So it is really hard in there because you have a wonderful time and you laugh so much and it's brilliant. Everyone was great. But you have hard times in there for different reasons because you do so much thinking. Like, you've got nothing else to do in there. When we did The Bachelor, I felt like there was always something to do or always someone to talk to or film or go outside to the gym or...
The other thing with The Bachelor, though, is like, and I don't know if you felt like this, Britt, and obviously it's so long ago now, but I was on high alert the whole time because I was on the defense. I was like, how are these people going to undermine me or try and, you know, screw my character or make me come across as a person that I'm not? Like, I felt like I was so defensive all the time.
Yes, I felt the same. In here, we're in such a different point of life. So on The Bachelor, you're all single, obviously. Some people had kids, but the whole point was probably one person on the show had a child and everyone was single because they're looking for a partner. Here, everyone has partners and families and kids. Like, so there was a lot of really wholesome chat and a lot of people really missing their families. And I haven't been in an environment 24 hours a day where I'm around that before. And it makes you do so much thinking. So much introspective, deep, meaningful life thoughts and chats that you would never have had.
Yeah.
Like, we have them here surface. I don't want to say surface level, but we have them here and then we often go home and we keep going on with life. But there you have them and then you lay on your bunk bed and you just think about that chat for the next 4 hours.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was around like kids and partners. And I always think about kids and you know, marriage and stuff. That's no secret. But in there, listening to people like Frankie and Ellie, people that were crying, like seeing Frankie cry, he was really upset in there the whole time because he's like, I have never known a love like I've known for my son and my wife. And he's like, and since I've been in here, I realize I don't give them enough attention. I'm not there enough for them. I need to be a better dad. I need to be a better husband.
I say this, maybe I'm being too critical, but I see that because like that obviously played out on the show as well. And my biggest thought when I see those sorts of things is like, well, why don't you just go home?
Well, that's why
like,
he did go
home.
home.
Go home to your family if you're feeling that overwhelming feeling. But then I also think, oh, like, is this just your way out? Because, like, I think the contracts, you've only been signed for X amount of weeks. Like, I don't know.
No, Frankie was real for sure.
Yeah.
He struggled in there the whole time, and he had so many big realizations in there about what his wife has given up. He's like, I've never had enough. And it's the thinking. It's the nothing else to do in there but think. He's like, I've never not had 100 things to do. And it's now that I realize I want to be better for them. And he wanted to go home quite early to them. He was struggling, but he's like, I came here for a reason. I don't give up. But then it got to the point where he's like, I've learned everything I'm going to learn and I want to go and implement it now. I want to go back to my son and my wife tomorrow. And I respected that.
So in your feelings, when you say that you spent a lot of time thinking, like, in what way did that change you? In what way do you feel like what were the things that you were like laboring about?
Well, it comes back to the same thing, career and Ben. Basically. And like, when am I going to make that decision on having that life that I want? Like,
oh, don't worry. I was fighting people on the I'm a Celebrity fucking Instagram page because my thing around that is it frustrates me to no end. And like for everyone listening, obviously it's probably something that everyone's thought at some point. Well, why doesn't Britt just go to Scotland?
100%.
And people message us all the time. They're like, why don't you just go to Scotland and you guys can just do Life Uncut from Scotland? And it's like, guys, we've tried. Like if it was that easy, Britt would be in Scotland right now. But like running a business, doing records in the way that we do, the volume
also
of
radio,
work.
like there's loads of stuff that my career is here. And
Totally.
also the people, because I get a lot of messages too. And it's all comes from a good place. But the messages that are like, you know, life is short. And it's true. I'm not arguing that. Life is short. Give up work. Career's not important. Go and be with Ben.
Yeah.
Okay, I still have a mortgage. I still have to feed myself. I love romanticizing the idea of giving everything up for love, but people still have to live.
But also, I think it goes beyond that. I mean, because obviously, like you can live anywhere. You've got a radiography degree. You could go and do what you do somewhere else as well.
No, that's
you know,
gone now. Yeah,
because you let it lapse.
Yeah,
But
I can't ever go back.
you have to go back to fucking uni.
I've got to make this work.
Like we're podcasters forever. No, but I think I got into like almost an argument with someone on Instagram, which Matt was like, Laura, they're a troll. And I was like, they're not a troll. She's a normal person. She doesn't understand. But the reason why I got into this argument was because often I think people will message you or they'll message Life Uncut or they'll, message me even and be like, why doesn't Britt just go? And I think that there is a real lack of understanding as to how much work goes into creating, and not to sound like a dickhead, and I'm so sorry if this comes across that way, guys, but like one of the biggest podcasts in the country. It's so much work. Like we all work so hard, all four of us on this podcast.
Job.
It's full time. And then we have our staff and, Scotland's on a complete different time zone. When it's 8 o'clock in the morning here when we start recording, it's the middle of the night in Scotland. So we've tried and it's really, really hard. And so I guess from your perspective, Britt, I feel bad for you that people are kind of like, oh, it's so obvious. Why don't you do that?
Yeah.
Because I know how it's just not that simple as people make it out to be. And when you're split between being the one to give up their career for a partner who's obviously also very career orientated, I think it's a real cop out how people just assume that the female is going to be the one to give up their career. And that was my debate. I was saying people were like, she can do podcasting from Scotland. And I was like, yeah, and he can play soccer in Australia.
Yeah.
But there's many reasons as to why both of those things are challenging for each person.
Totally. And 100% I can do podcasting from there. Is it the same and is it as easy? Absolutely not. Would we need a whole new setup and equipment? Yes. But it's not just the podcasting as well. Like we have other things here and the time will come when I have a baby that I probably will have to move. But then that also weighs into what I was thinking about in there as well. Babies. So obviously there's a high chance I have to do IVF, which is so stressful for another reason because I just wish, and I know everyone's gonna be like, obviously no one wants to do IVF. I just wish I could fall pregnant naturally so that the decision is taken away from me because the hardest thing is
when to start
is actually saying, let's do it. Like on Monday, I am going to try and be pregnant. Like that is crazy to me. That is crazy talk. And I don't know how I'm ever going to make that decision because of the decisions that follow, which is where do we live? How do we do it? Do I stay here alone? Do I give up whatever to go over there? Do I go over there and make the podcast work and then try and have a night nanny because it's impossible because there's so many questions that flow on from that decision. But being in there and looking at people's faces light up and the way they talk about their children.
Family, yeah.
Yeah, and it made me realize that I want it. And I've always been on the fence. I've always said I think I want it, but maybe I don't. But maybe I only don't want it because I don't know if I can. You know, I've never known what it was. But now I'm like, I can't go through a life without knowing the love that everyone else in here is saying is the best thing to ever happen. And it made me realize that I want it, which is a great revelation to have. Like, took a weight off my shoulders because there's no more umming and ahhing. I know that that's it. I don't know when or how or why or what or the logistics, but I know that it's something I see for my future.
Have you had that conversation with Ben since being out? Or is it like you were out for a day and you're like, maybe I'll just give it a second's rest?
No, Ben is all on board. For some reason, Ben has it in his head that he wants twins. He just wants twins. And I'm like, it doesn't work like that.
People say that and then it sounds, do you know what? I think it sounds really hard.
My friend with twins, she's got 4 kids under 4. And she's like, do I love my kids? Absolutely. Are they the best things ever? Absolutely. She's like, don't choose it. Because Ben's like, let's do IVF in the UK because you can put 2 in because you can't do that in Australia.
I couldn't. I mean, and anyone who's out there who's got twins, like, you are a superhero. Having 2 19, 20 months apart, whatever my kids are, fuck, that was hard. Like, that was so hard. Having 2 the same age, I'd be like, I can't.
I get the benefits, right? Because people are like, people are like, you know, if you're only... You get them out of the way. If you only want 2, you've got them. You don't have to go back. You're awake anyway. There's all these arguments. But then there are a lot of twin mums that are like, it's so hard. Like, send help.
Oh, yeah. Nah. Look, wouldn't be my choice if I had one. But anyway, if that's what you get, you've got to deal with the cards you get dealt.
But yeah, Ben's picked names. Like, he's really excited to be a dad one day. He knows exactly what he wants the daddy's going to be, what he wants to call the kids.
But I think this is so beautiful because for as long as I've known you, for like 6 years now, and I know that talking about fertility has been like a long conversation that we've had across this podcast. We've talked about egg freezing. We've talked about where you have been at because for so long when we first met, you were like, I don't want kids. I think you even called my children contraception at one point.
Yeah, that was a joke. But I was like, yeah, your kids are the best. They're cute, but great contraception. I don't need the pill.
Absolute contraception. Like, that's really
I love them.
No, but you've gone from like not wanting to have kids to potentially entertaining the idea to being at a point now where you really want to. And I know everybody's different. There'll be people out there who never want to have children. There's people out there who will follow a similar path to you. But I think more so it's the clarity because I think where you have stood, it's the not being sure for so long. Obviously, if you do have to go down the track of it being more logistical, just from the fact that Ben's in another country, at least being sure allows you to figure out the rest of the things, you know?
Exactly. And if it doesn't happen for me, I also know I will have a wonderful life as well. So it's not, you know, whatever way it goes, but there is definitely a weight off the shoulder at having made a more clear decision.
Well, now we have to have conversations after this podcast around how we run a business.
Yeah. Well, let's just wait till when I'm pregnant. That's for another chat.
We've had so many questions. I want to preface this as well. Like, you know I said that Britt and I haven't had the opportunity to catch up properly, but like I genuinely don't know the intricacies of how things worked in the jungle, and neither do you guys. So you guys have all sent in so many questions around for silly things from like how do you shower or how take care of yourself, all the way to like how things are filmed and like how challenges take place. But we wanted this episode to be a real deep dive into the jungle, Britt's experience, the things that you've learned, the things that you didn't realize from that reality TV experience. I want to kick it off with I think was the most common question, which is kind of weird, but it was. And it was all around how you manage to take care of yourself in there.
God, there was something beautiful about no stress and just having people look after you. Like people feed you, people do everything for you. There's no stress, there's no news cycle, there's nothing. Like you just exist with some friends and play AFL and do fun stuff and cook.
Do you know what it sounds like? It sounds like being a teenager again. It sounds like being 11.
100%.
When you just rock up, you get told what to do. We didn't know how good we had it when we were kids.
You know the moment that I realized it was like Stockholm syndrome. And so this is a bit of behind the scenes stuff. It's very real for the food. Like you don't get fed very much, which is why everyone loses so much weight. It is monitored to a point where they know you're getting enough calories that you're safe, but you're going to lose weight because there's no sugars, preservatives, very small meals. You are on the minimum calories.
How many calories a day are you allowed to eat?
I think it had to be, even the people that were like losing and not getting meals, it has to be a minimum of 800 calories, which is very low, but also that can't be for too many days in a row. So what they do is there were genuinely days where you couldn't walk very far without sitting down.
Feeling dizzy.
Yeah, people getting dizzy when they stood up. You just had no energy. So sometimes they were like, hey, guys, get up and play. And we are like, we can't. Callum would sleep 12 hours a day sometimes in the day, like a sloth. Like the Callum you saw on TV was a different Callum to not on TV. But it's because you can't. You don't have the energy. So those days, they'd send in a banana, one banana for like each. That's when I knew it was Stockholm syndrome. That
Like,
we
thank
were
you
like,
so much for my banana.
we just thought they were the best. Thank you for looking after us. Thank you for rewarding us with this tiny piece of fruit. And then I was like, oh my God, I'm there. I'm kidnapped right now in the jungle and I'm frothing.
I still feel like that about Matt.
Oh, he's kidnapped you?
No, I'm like, I fell in love with him on a reality TV show that was based on Stockholm syndrome. Yes. And every so often I'm like, what happened here? Am I still trapped? I now have 2 kids.
So am I still in contract? Was the contract 6 years?
He cooks me dinner and I'm like, thank you so much, sweetie. Thank you for loving me.
Pick me. Can I steal you for a minute? Can I steal you for a chat for 2 seconds? I saw you talking to that other girl.
Oh my God, stop it. No, but it's true. These shows are based on, and I don't want to say Stockholm syndrome because that obviously sounds like such a severe thing, but
yes, it's a joke.
The mentality around it is that you lose all your autonomy, something that as adults we're so used to having complete and unfiltered ability to do what we want when we want to do it. And then you go into these experiences and all of that is taken away. For some people, it's a massive adjustment. For some people, they almost thrive in like relinquishing control a little bit.
Well, they brought us in one day. You guys saw it, actually. I think Callum brought it back from a trial, an Easter egg that was like the tiny little ones, like a 5-cent piece. Oh my God. We were like, thank you so much. You spoiled us. You're too good to us. Like, fuck. I look back now and I'm like, what? Like, what? Who was I?
How did you go without having a phone for 6 weeks?
Loved it. Best thing I've ever done was not have a phone. I didn't want it back.
Did you feel strange the first couple of days?
Yeah, I didn't open Instagram.
No, not when you had it back, but the first few days of being in there. Or was it a situation where you were like, well, I know I don't have it, so I can't possibly think about it?
I didn't feel strange at all. Maybe because
Trust me, I did because I had access to all of your Instagram. And I was like, someone take this away from me.
You're having a field day.
It's too much.
I'd done The Bachelor before, so we'd done 3 months without a phone. I felt sorry for all the people that had never done a show where you've gone in and haven't had that access. So I gave myself to the show. I walked in and was like, don't even care about looking at that. I didn't even think about it again. Whereas some other people struggled a little bit. But I thought it was wonderful. Like, I've never felt calmer in my mind in my life.
But also the people who I think would have struggled with it more so might even be the people who have like little kids or things that, you know, people who you want to have connection with, not just because you want to chat to them every day, but because you're worried about their safety. You kind of worry about wanting to know what's going on in their lives. I think that for me would be a real stress factor, is not being able to contact Matt to make sure that the kids are okay or to get an update or to find out like how they've been.
Well, I don't think it's a safety thing because everyone in there knew that if anything happened, the family had contact to the show and they would call you in and tell you. It wasn't that. It was just that these people like haven't been away from their kids ever. Yeah. And if they have been away, they've had contact to talk to them on FaceTime.
It's not the big things. It's not, when I say safety, it's not even that. Like today, for example, I left for work and I was in the car for 10 minutes and then Matt called me on the phone for Marley to speak to me because she was upset about something and she wanted to speak to her mum.
Yeah.
I would hate the idea of being in that situation for 6 weeks and it always being no. Like they want to speak to mum and the answer is no, you can't speak to mum, because I think it's different going on a holiday and still, or going away for a work trip and being able to talk to your kids every day when they want access to you
100%.
Versus just telling them that they can't access you at all. That must be really hard, especially, and I don't want to just say for people who have kids, but that would be an extra element, I think.
It's definitely, I'll easily say that, way harder for people that had kids. You know, of course, the people that don't have kids, we all missed our families and partners and friends, but we all know that kids are different. The lucky thing for everyone in there was the kids were either too small that they had no idea, like babies, or they were old enough to understand, because it was live, they could watch them every night. So they could understand why look, daddy's on the TV. That's why you're not speaking to him. So that made it so much easier because all the kids had this excitement of going home every day and watching them on the TV. So I think that made it better and it was easier for them to understand. If they were going away, it was pre-filmed and it was shown in 3 months, the kids wouldn't have understood. But it was super hard.
What about fights? Like, what about, I know everyone came across as though everyone got along like you're one big happy family, which I think is one of the beautiful things about I'm a Celebrity, is that it's not really based around the drama. But there were things that happened on the show that I kind of picked up on, and I was like, oh, there seems like there's some weird energy happening here. The first thing was between Candace and Sky.
Oh, yeah.
If you guys were watching, basically what happened, and just to kind of recap it, so everyone was asked to hand in their contraband, which most people had snuck into the jungle. Sky had contraband lip gloss or
Lip
makeup or
liner
something. And Candace had said, like, Sky, you need to hand yours in. Sky got quite upset. And I would say from watching that back, like as an audience member, it looked as though Candace was in the wrong. And what I mean by that is it looked as though Candace... Yeah, it kind of looked as though she threw Sky under the bus, and Sky was very upset. And even like the social media commentary to reflect that, like people were going Candace after that moment on TV.
That's so interesting because we don't come out. I don't see that stuff. That's so interesting because Candace was 100% in the right, and everyone agreed with that. That wasn't such a huge thing in the jungle. I mean, at the end of the day, put it this way. Everyone had contraband in there. Well, basically everyone. I got strip searched and mine got taken, so I didn't get it in there. Yeah, they searched every cavity. I don't know why, but I was not getting that protein bar in.
Somebody took extra diligence to find it on Britt.
It was strapped to my body, and one of the producers gave me a hug.
They pat you down.
Well, she gave me a hug before I went in, and it went. She was like, "What?" And she was like, "What's that?" I was like, "Nothing."
Don't hug me.
And then she like started to pat me, and it was like, because it was all taped. I had so many tape. It was like a
Why were you
RoboCop.
hugging people? Just say, sorry, I'm not up for hugs.
Before you go in, you're like, "See ya, good luck," and you hugged, and then it went, and I was like, "Oh," and then she patted me down, and I was full.
Wait,
of
in that tiny little dress, you'd strap shit to yourself.
all to my arms, and because I had sleeves around my waist, it was everywhere, so I didn't get anything in. But yeah, so what happens is the show knows a bunch of people take contraband in. They encourage it for some people because it makes the show. Khan had a whole supermarket in his bag. He had every spice you could imagine. But he's a chef, so that was always going to make for great TV. Sky had makeup in there because that suits who she is, you know. So they allowed some stuff. So 4 days in or something, and we're already really hungry. They're already withholding food and we're not eating a lot. And you're withdrawing because you're only 4 days in from sugars, from coffees, from normal food, hunger. So emotions are high. Anyway, it was contraband day. Everyone had 2 minutes to hand their contraband in, or there were consequences of not eating, like you'll withhold more food. So everyone knew it was part of the show. Everyone who started handing their contraband in, eating it all. You could eat it if you wanted, but you had 2 minutes. Khan put his hair dye in his hair in 2 minutes. It was so funny.
It was so funny.
So everyone handed it in except Sky, who didn't want to hand her makeup, lip stuff in. And Candace knew she had it, but no one else knew apparently. So she had just told her, like, I brought my lip stuff in. And so Candace didn't want to starve. So she just said, hey, Sky, also hand yours in. Like everyone else, it wasn't a big deal at all. She wasn't throwing anyone under a bus. Everyone was doing it. And Sky didn't want to give her lip stuff up. So she said, no. And Candace said, well, yes, because we want to eat. And we're not going to not eat because of your lip balm, like because of your lip liner. And it just turned into something. Candace and Sky handle their emotions very differently. As we know, like you saw Sky, she cries a lot. She gets, her emotions are very on this, like she shows her emotions. Yeah. Candace hides her emotions. And you could see how upset Candace was. You know, I could see her lip quivering. She was holding in tears, but she doesn't handle it the same way. And I think that's why it came across in that way. But at the end of the day, everyone thought it was completely a fair request of Candace to ask her to hand it in. And what Candace said, and I was like, that's so true. Candace was like, Sky, it's not like you're holding food for a different day. Like it's a lip balm. Like the whole camp is not going to not eat because you want your lip liner. Like just hand it in.
I mean, it's interesting hearing it from your perspective of being in the camp because, and I learnt this from watching back our season of The Bachelor. And I'm sure I've mentioned it on here many years ago, but the way in which people are perceived from reality TV. If you're someone who's really vulnerable, if you're someone who cries easily because you're, you know, maybe you're someone who is softer natured in terms of like being able to show your emotion.
Yeah.
That visibility of like real unadulterated emotion is received so beautifully from an audience watching. Yeah. It allows an audience member to sympathize. Whereas if you're somebody who, especially as a female, if you're a bit harder, even if you feel all those things, even if you are equally as upset, if you don't cry, if you shut down in those moments of vulnerability, the audience they're nowhere near as kind to you. If you shut down, you're perceived as hard. And I think in that moment, and I saw it played on Instagram, people were absolutely going for Candace in the comments. People were messaging on Sky saying how beautiful she was, how she was being misrepresented. It was a real moment of like you picked a side in that moment,
Which is
and
such a
Sky came off
shame.
better on social media than Candace did.
Yeah, that's such a shame because what should have happened is everyone just handed their contraband in. And if Sky didn't and Candace said, hey, Sky, put it in, she should have just put it in. That argument shouldn't have happened. And I love them both equally. It just seems like such a dumb argument in
Totally. I
hindsight.
mean, we're fighting over lips gloss.
And she also kept it anyway. She was using it the whole time. She had the last couple of days, she was just pulling it out. She was like, I've had this the whole time. So she didn't even hand it in anyway.
Or she had multiple.
No, she had multiple. She handed one in. But she must have had a bag of stuff. I don't know. Good on her.
I want to know about the hygiene perspective because you mentioned that people didn't shower and maybe it was because the water was too cold, but people weren't showering. But more so beyond that, like how do people take care of themselves?
Yeah.
What's the toilet situation like? Can you shave your legs? Can you see yourself in a mirror? Like talk me through that aspect of I'm a Celeb.
Yeah, you can shower every day. You can, but you don't. So Frankie and Sky were the grossest by far. They didn't shower. They both showered like 5 or 6 times, I think, the whole time.
Why would you do that? Why would you not shower?
Because it was so cold, like freezing cold. And you're out in the open. There are spiders, snakes, scorpions. There's cameras on you everywhere. And it's just freezing. It's not hot. Africa wasn't hot like you'd think it would be because we were so shaded and sheltered from the sun. So we didn't get sun.
Did people shower naked or did they shower clothed?
Just, believe it or not, shock horror, just Callum.
Showered naked from the get-go.
Yeah, he was naked.
Didn't give a fuck.
Gave no fucks.
Just hanging out with his wang out.
Well, not all the time. Sometimes he had his undies on, but then I think he got over it and he would just like cup his.
And you're just standing there and he's just there showering.
Well,
Women across Australia are all wanting to go on I'm a Celebrity.
You could, but we were pretty respectful. Like if people were like, I'm going for a shower, you generally wouldn't go and stand there and goggle at them. But like you could still walk past if.
But the showers are away from the main camp or they're like right in the camp? Like you're sitting there on your bed watching someone in the shower?
I think the camp looks bigger than it is. You can't sit on the bed and look at them, but you can wash up and look at them.
Okay.
So you're washing up.
Callum's in the shower, I gotta go wash my cup.
Yeah. But you already washed it. No, I didn't wash properly. I'm going back to you. No, that's what it's like. You would wash up and stare at them. And you could be at the gym and look through the cracks at them. So the gym and the washing up and the shower were in this tiny vicinity that you walked past the toilet and then you're in the camp. The camp, I don't know how big it looks on screen. It's tiny.
It looks tiny.
You are stuck in this tiny camp for a month. The only times you go out are for trial. You don't speak to another human. You don't see another human unless you leave.
And you don't know what time of day it is.
You don't know. That was good and bad. You have no concept of time. So you don't know when you woke up, what time it is, what time you went to bed. You've got to guess through the day because you've got this tiny meal, right? 2 tablespoons of rice for lunch and 2 tablespoons of beans. That is it. Nothing. Plain. So that's all you look forward to all day. So you've got no concept of time. So you get up and you have your oats and then you don't know what you've done to fill in the hours. And then you're like, what time do you reckon it's lunchtime? Because everyone's starving. So you'd eat, you'd cook because you want to really wait it out. And then it would be like 15 hours until dinner.
Because
And
you
then
ate lunch at 9 a.m.
TikTok, you'd be like, you guys did have lunch early today. Like you had lunch very early. So sometimes it's like 9:30, 10 and we're like, let's have lunch because you got up at like 5. You don't know. So I kind of loved that. The idea of not knowing how many hours sleep you've got, how long you've been awake, what time. There's something cool about that, but also it also plays into the whole psychological aspect.
So many people asked around periods, like how you managed your period while you're in there because you're in there for 6 weeks. So most women will have gotten a period in that time. How do you manage that? What did you do? And if there's a lack of privacy and also the toilet facilities are fucked, like how do you go about it?
That was definitely hard. Probably harder for me because I choose to use a menstrual cup instead of pads and tampons. So they give you pads and tampons and my understanding was every other woman in there was using pads and tampons. So the cup is difficult because usually you do it in the shower, you're rinsing it out, you're cleaning it, you put it back in. I was not going to do that in the shower. There's no way.
Someone's at the gym just there's Britt
with a menstrual cup whipping it around. No way I was doing that. And especially it's not even that. It's knowing that there is a room of 80 people that
watching.
Are watching.
Yeah, it's not the people in the camp. It's everyone who's watching on camera.
Yeah.
And the lack of, that's the thing you don't realize. It's the lack of overall privacy because you don't know how much visibility they have.
Yeah. And I went into the control room at the end. I knew there were people in there, but they take you on a tour at the end and you see all the cameras on the camp. It's like nothing I've ever seen.
Do you remember that horrible thing that happened to Chrissy Swan when she was on Big Brother?
No, what?
It was absolutely awful. It happened back in 2013. You guys know Chrissy Swan. She's got the radio show. She was on Big Brother. She was in the shower and she heard one of the cameramen, because obviously they are in the bathrooms, they're everywhere, they're watching, it's Big Brother style. So she was in the shower and she heard someone through the wall say, "I know you like fat women." And he was talking to another cameraman.
Oh, no.
And they were watching her in the shower. It all played out on the show. This is
They played that?
Yeah, this is 2013 reality TV. Like, this is the type of like abhorrent behavior that would have been shown. Now there's no way that it would fly. And she was humiliated, absolutely humiliated.
I can't even believe that was shown in 2013.
It was shown. Yeah, it was shown on TV. It all played out. It made the news. Like, it was so disgusting to watch.
So bad.
But this is what you think. You are in that environment. You're in a tiny little space where you think about your teammates seeing you, but what you might not be thinking about is literally the team of people that you're trusting to be on the other end of that camera.
So it's
and then
funny.
what's happening with that footage? You hope that they're just doing the right thing by you.
Well, I was thinking the opposite. I wasn't thinking about the people in the camp. I was thinking about those people because I guess I've done TV before. I know how many people would have been watching, but I actually had no idea it was so many. It was like 60, 70 people in this one room with a whole wall of, have you seen like Morning Wars with Jennifer Aniston and... Anyway, if you guys have seen Morning Wars, that's what it looks like. Cameras on every single angle of that whole place, including the shower. And you like to think that they're respectful and they're not looking. But at the end of the day, you're on a big screen naked. Whether they do anything with that footage, they're going to be watching it at that time.
Totally.
And there's no way I'm whipping a menstrual cup out and tipping my blood down the sink.
But also, the toilet facilities are pretty rank as well. You've got a long drop toilet, you've got a short drop toilet, you've got a toilet for the poos and a toilet for the wheeze.
Yeah.
So you're supposed to just go and empty your menstrual cup out, then waltz around camp with it to go and rinse it and then go back.
Yeah. So I'd do it at nighttime when there was not a lot of people around, it was dark, and I'd go wash my hands so I was clean, sanitize, go to the long drop, not touch anything, take it out, put it into the long drop, walk back out, clean it, rinse it, wash my hands again, go back in and put it in, and then go back out and wash. It was a lot and it was a real nightmare, but that's just the choice I wanted to make because I could have used tampons, but I wanted to use that. It was the choice I made a couple of years ago and I love it. But I guess it's just part of it. Like, you have to know that if you're going in there, it's part of it.
Yeah, but there's a part of me that I feel annoyed by that because I'm like, it's so easy to be a dude. Well, go in there, do a shit, do a wee and leave. Like, it's so easy being a guy, but as women, there is an additional facility and there is an additional, I guess, like privacy that's required. And you're not given that opportunity. Like, you know, I don't know. There's something about that I feel, especially if you are choosing to use a moon cup. And I know we should be like, no shame. Go and rinse it out in the shower. But the reality is like some privacy would be nice.
Well, it's not shame. It's privacy.
Yeah, totally.
That's all it is. It's like, it's the same thing. You're not going to go whip a tampon out in front of someone and swing it around. Well, actually, some people probably would do that. But like, that's not ideal.
That'd be terrible
but
TV. I don't want to see that.
The toilets, you go take a dump and then you've got to clean them. You've got to go and pull. It's just a bucket. It's a hole in this bucket. And every day you take the bucket out and you put the bucket in. And in both bathrooms is a tub of charcoal and a tub of hay, like oat kind of thing. It's like sawdust, sorry. Fucking not hay or oats. It's There's a bucket of hay and oats. I was like, what the fuck? Dude, my brain doesn't work. It was a bucket of sawdust.
Something that looks like shaved wood.
Yeah, it was a sawdust. So after every poo and wee, you had to scoop the sawdust to cover it, and then you scoop the like charcoal in, and it helps cover the smell and cover the poo.
That's enough to make me not want to do it ever.
And you carry it out. Man, they were dropping nuggets. It was like 20 kilos a day.
It's Callum.
I don't know who it was.
Look at the size of that guy.
It was Pete. Actually.
He would be doing some meaty poos.
So that was gross, but you get used to it very quick. The first day you go in, you're like, you don't want to touch anything. It smells. And then by 4 days in, you couldn't care less. Like, it just becomes, again, Stockholm. It becomes everyday life. You're like, thank you for the toilet paper. Like, yeah.
I don't think there's anyone out there in the world who'd be like, oh yeah, it'd be fun with that.
Oh,
That'd
no
be
one
great.
froths it.
Like,
it's
that's
not
my favorite
I'm on
part.
toilet duty.
Hey, what was your favorite part of I'm a Slave? Cleaning up the shit out of the drop toilets.
Callum's shit. That went everywhere. But there's full scorpions in there and snakes, like killer snakes.
How do you feel about the snakes? So there was like quite a few challenges. One where you had like a bowl in your head and you had snakes around your head. Sky's challenge where she had to lay in a box and was covered in snakes. When you're going through these challenges, like how by the end of it, are you okay with the animals? Is it still as petrifying as it looks?
I think by the end of it, it's fine. And I know Sky's challenge with the snakes, I can say this because she told us, but she loved it. It was the easiest trial of the entire show.
That was such a fucking turnaround because on the first episode she was petrified and then she was laying there like Gandhi. I was like, how have you how have you managed to overcome this fear? I would have literally shit myself in that box.
It was the easiest.
It would have been me in a drop toilet covered in snakes.
100%. She's like, it's the easiest challenge you can do because you just lay there and close your eyes and they just sit on you and like slither. But she's like, I just went to sleep and 12 minutes later I got up.
They tried to make her open her eyes and she was like, okay, yep, it's beautiful. Back to sleeping.
She just laid there and relaxed. I guess it gets to a point where you know deep down that they're not going to hurt you. Like the snakes that they're giving you, they don't want a celebrity to die. Imagine. They don't want I'm a celebrity, I'm dead, everyone go to their funeral. Like that's not the vibe. So the snakes are there to like make you feel uncomfortable. But if you can get to the point where you're like, they're not going to hurt me, it's okay.
Do you not think about the variable though? Like what if just one snake in that environment arced up and then they're agitated and then it agitates the other snakes? Like all it takes is one thing to go wrong in that situation.
Yeah. So when my head was in the snake jar, astronaut jar, they were going around my neck and there was a point where I was yelling out saying they're around my neck, they're going to choke me because that's what it feels like, right? They feel like it's getting... Well, they weren't constricting because I'd stopped breathing, but I could feel them around in a circle, but they're not constrictors. So there are ranges everywhere. Like the snake handlers all around you, Robert's watching, and they're watching their behavior the whole time. They can tell if their behavior's changing or if they're getting agitated and they would stop it. Like they don't want anything to happen. So I just really gave myself to... If they think something's wrong, I wouldn't be in this situation. And you have to or you'll have a panic attack.
What about the ice challenge? So you did one challenge where you were in a deep freeze, they called it. It was you and Candace Warner. I mean, I can't stay in an ice bath for 2 minutes, let alone for how long you're in there for. We all had a group chat. We were all messaging each other at the time because it was incredible. You were so good in that moment.
Thank you.
And I was so proud of you. I honestly was just like, oh my God, she's done so well, Queen Britty. But what was that like and was it as hard as it looked?
That was my favorite challenge and by far the hardest, most difficult challenge of the show, so they say. But that's because there was so much physicality in it and actually danger. So it was about 18 minutes total. You ended up being in an ice bath and it is a proper ice bath. I can 100% say there is nothing fake about what happened. And then you're panicking too because you're chained down. And there's like the tiniest bit of breath at the top and you can't catch your breath because you're so cold. Like your breathing's really shallow and you're panicking. So our core body temperature dropped a bit over 3 degrees. So we should be at about 37 degrees. Most people know that. We were at 33.8 or something. Which
crazy.
If it gets, they monitor you. The second you get out, they're monitoring you, the medical team. If you get to 32, that is proper, like you need to go to a hospital, hypothermia. So we were 33 and a bit. And the second you get out, we couldn't even interview. Usually they interview you after, but we could not talk. We were like convulsing, shaking.
Well, most people would think about temperature from the opposite. Like when you have a fever and you get hot. And I think about like when the kids have had temperatures and they've gotten up to 40 degrees, even higher than 40 degrees.
40's
and
insane.
It's like we're at hospital with that, you know? So when you think about being 3 degrees under, it's just as severe but in the opposite direction.
Yeah. So they just had a car ready for us, heated at 40 degrees. We had like the foil hypothermic blankets, hot water bottles, normal blankets, hot tea. They have to give you food to get your temperature up. And it was like 45 minutes before they check every couple of minutes in your ear and
your temperature.
And it was so, I couldn't believe how slow it takes. Like it dropped so quickly and to get it back up took so long.
Was there ever a point in that challenge where you thought like this is dangerous?
Oh yeah, 100%. But there is a risk. His name's Risky. They're the risk assessors and he has like Risky on his shirt and he's at every trial. He sets it up. They've tested it themselves and then he's there on standby. So he was at the top of that with like his snorkel oxygen thing and his wetsuit. And they gave us a sign. So you can pop up to the top and say, I'm a celebrity, get me out of here. And they'll take you out of the challenge. But they gave us a sign where you draw a line across your neck. So through the glass, if you're underwater, you just draw a line across your neck like the dead sign. And it's
kill.
That is, they were like, you only do, this is an immediate release if something is proper wrong. And they have like those glass smashers and they would smash the glass from the outside and the tank would just go out.
So if you do that, if you do kill or you say, I'm a celebrity, get me out of here, do you get taken... Like, do you have to leave the show?
So the way our understanding, no one actually said it in a challenge, but our understanding was you don't have to you can say it in the challenge and it just takes you out of the challenge, the trial. But if you say it in the camp, you're saying I'm leaving. So it can just take you from a trial. You can say I'm a celebrity and they're like, it's immediately over, but you don't have to leave the show.
So I think maybe I'm wrong, but I thought that if you said it at all, it meant that you left the show. So I completely misinterpreted.
Like I didn't say it. But they said to us every trial, like, you don't have to go through with this. You can say I'm a celebrity, but it means you'll forfeit your stars. So I think when you're saying it in a trial, it's
so
just
if
a
you've
trial.
earned like 7 stars or something, and then you say it, you forfeit all stars.
Yes. Yeah,
Got you.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Who did you like the most in there?
I mean, I liked everyone, obviously, but I was really close at the beginning. I should say the whole time, but Michelle and I, we met on the first, like we were in the same group at the start when we jumped off the cliff, and then our beds were put together because we were the last people to get beds. So just us were over on the corner in the jungle bush by ourselves. We got really close and we spent a lot of time talking, and I have a lot of time for Michelle. She's the sweetest, loveliest woman.
What do you think people would be surprised to know about her?
How sweet and lovely she is. I think she doesn't have a bad bone in her body. She doesn't have she was just so caring.
She is one. So I mean, and this is purely just from someone looking from the outside in. She's someone who comes across prior to I'm a Celebrity as hard. As like that lacking in a vulnerability aspect that I was talking about earlier, that you see her and you kind of can't quite read her. But then in the jungle, I think so many people who were watching that thought, oh my God, she's actually so lovely. She's so amazing.
She's
and
so
maybe has
soft.
just been through some shit. And unfortunately, when you're a public figure, you go through shit and you do it on a public stage for everybody to have an opinion about.
100%. And that's it. So she was genuinely the most sweet-natured, soft, caring, giving person.
And also, I mean, to be fair, and I guess it's an important thing that we could unpack on another episode, but like the show in which she was a part of for so long, The Biggest Loser, is so deeply fundamentally wrong. And at the time, we all loved it. We were all like, it was like, let's watch people who are overweight be tortured basically to be able to then get skinny.
Have a better life.
Like we loved the suffering of it, which is like now with the 2024 lens is so absolutely so fucking gross. But I'm sure she probably also thinks it's gross.
I don't think it lands now. And I had that conversation on the show with Michelle.
Yeah.
But I didn't love the suffering. I love the transformations. I love transformations of anything. A garden before and after, a house renovation, a person's life, like the overhaul. But she still loves it. Like, she's like, I get that things would be different now, but she's like, I know the lives we changed. And the way she spoke about it, she's like, they wanted to be there and do it. And she's like, and there's so much stuff you didn't see after it. She's like, I was with them all night. We were always talking and counseling and helping. And the way she spoke about it, I was like, I get what you're saying.
It's just the humiliation aspect, like getting people to get almost naked and stand on scales,
Yes.
like that part of it. And that's what I mean by, the suffering. I'm not saying that people got a kick out of it, but it was part of the show, right? Like watching people break down crying, it was that vulnerability aspect that we would never stand for that now. Like no one would watch that.
Yeah.
Everyone would be up in her fucking arms. In the same way that when I say this thing about Chrissy Swan from Big Brother back in 2013, we would riot if that happened now. Like when it comes to reality TV in the last 10 years, the world has changed so much, which it absolutely needed to.
Yeah, we'll have a whole nother convo about that. But other people like Ellie Cole,
We love her.
We've
Ellie.
had Ellie on the podcast, but she is, I mean, I even got to see another side of Ellie. Like at the end of the day, we interviewed Ellie and we were friends on social media, but I didn't know her like I do now. She's so fucking funny.
Yeah, she's
and
amazing.
She's such a boss in there. Like I just take my hat off to her. It was such a hard environment, and for her to be in there with her prosthesis. And I say that because there is a lot of up and down hiking and walking. It's definitely not easy. A lot of the trials were really hard, but she just killed it. She never complains. She everything's funny. She makes a joke of everything. Obviously, Callum, I don't know if it was shown. Callum and I got along really well. He's very funny. Guy, very funny. Pete, believe it or not, I don't know if they showed a lot of that. I had a lot of really great conversations with Pete. He reminded me a lot of my dad, and he'll hate that because he'll be like, we're friends. I'm not your dad. But the way he spoke about his kids and his wife, he just reminded me of my dad. He worships the ground that his family walks on, and he's such a sweet man, very unique sense of humor, and I had a lot of time for him. And he had a lot of time for me, which I appreciated. He was very interested in my life and very curious, and not a lot of people in there were. So I loved that he had genuine questions about, people we've interviewed, things I've done, travel, whatever. So we had a lot of really great conversations.
What about Callum? And the reason why I ask this is because I think the version of him that we see on the show, and I might be just like drawing parallels, but I think a part of it is an act. And I say that because he comes across as so lovably stupid, but I actually think he's not stupid at all. And I think he's very good at making good TV. I think he knows how to get sound bites and do reality TV well.
I think that's probably accurate. And I can say that I don't know Callum on the outside. I only knew him in the show. But we all saw each other off camera and on camera. And he was definitely 100 miles an hour on camera and he slept all day off camera. But you can't also hold that against someone because we all slept.
They're making a TV show.
Well, yeah, the cameras come on and you give energy. Like that's what you do. So I'm not holding that part against him at all. We all did it. I don't think he's as dumb as he lets on. At all. I think he's got a lot more upstairs, but in different ways. So like if he's really interested in something, he's really smart with it. Like so he did like 2 years of a physio degree, which is really hard. He studied nutrition and PT, really, really difficult. But that's his forte. Like that's what he's interested in his own life. There are definitely some things that he didn't know that were real. Like there are, but then at the end of the day, I think he probably just lent into it a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is what TV is. He go great one-liners, great sound bites. And those one-liners and stuff like that is Callum. Like he spits that out left, right and center. And he's very funny. His accent helps a lot and like the lingo helps a lot. I laughed at him all the time and it was genuine.
How many hours a day are you actually filming? So like when you
All
wake
day.
up in the morning, so you're on. From the minute you wake up, the cameras are on.
All night. They get you while you're sleeping.
So you're always on. You're always, and do they come and tell you, okay, guys, you need to lift the energy in camp. You need to do something. Like,
Yeah.
do they produce you at all, or do they just leave you to kind of like fuck around and talk?
It's the most unproduced show I've seen, but they do produce you when they have to. And that's only when you're a couple of days deep of 0 calories, no food, and you are struggling with, you cannot even get up to walk down to wash up. Like, and they see that, right? So when they see everyone, and you know, Callum sleeping for 13 hours a day, they're like, Callum, get up. He's like, bro, I can't. I do not have the energy to get up. So they'll send a banana
Here's
in.
a banana.
Yep, they send the banana in and that you pick up. And if they need you to do something active, if they know that there's like a dancing challenge where you're going to dance all day, they'll send in a banana or an orange. That's it.
So stupid.
Like one thing to keep you going. But it's only produced when we've been sloths for days. They're like, okay, we're actually trying to make a show. You need to give us something.
Was there anything about the whole experience that you were disappointed in or wasn't as you expected it to be?
I didn't think the food would be real. I knew that I'd be hungry, but I thought they'd slip you more secret food when you were struggling. But I didn't go in with a lot to lose, and I lost 5.5 kilos in 4 weeks.
That's fucking crazy.
4 weeks, and the boys lost 10 kilos.
It also makes me worried though, like if anybody went into that environment who had any sort of like disordered eating, like undiagnosed disordered eating or like poor relationship with food, like that feels like a really dangerous thing to do.
Well, I guess that's why you do so many like mental health checks before. Like you have a psychologist, the psychologist is there. They are watching you. You get weighed when you go in and then when you leave immediately. And they're watching. They know you're going to lose weight, but still monitored, right? They know that I think it's 800 calories absolute minimum, and that can't be too many days in a row.
Yeah.
So they monitor if you guys are getting really small amounts. If we're not winning any food at night, which we want a lot of food, but if you're not winning much, they'll send something in the day. If you're going on a trial that's really high energy, they have like a little secret muesli bar that's made up on site of all the grains and stuff that are high energy. But yeah, for someone of my size to have still lost 5.5 kilos, that's how real it is. So
and
you
also
are
it's
hungry.
so much in such a short period of time. Because really, I mean, from when you left to now that you're back, it was like what, 5.5 weeks in total?
4 weeks, yes, but
In there.
4 weeks of the show, which is the controlled eating. 4 weeks. And the last week we ate a lot. Like they start to give you treats. Like you win a cake here, you have your buffet breakfast. But man, I cannot stop shitting. Let me tell you that. The second you get out.
We don't need to know that part.
Yeah, you do. It's important. I cannot stop pooing. Everything I eat straight through me. And they warn you of that because your body's been so like cleansed for a month and you don't eat anything bad. The second you have dairy, sugars, whatever, like everyone was running to the toilet.
Do you think it's changed the way that you will eat at all, or do you think it's changed your perception to around like how you want to? Because I think it's almost like never do you have a period where you're like, I'm going to clean eat. Everyone says they're going to do it, and then no one ever does it. You always cheat.
Yeah.
You know, or you're like, I'm not going to drink for a month, and like it's very hard for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But you had everything taken off you, pretty much,
and my soul as well was
No.
taken. I would like to think that it's changed how I feel about food and eating, and I say that because I hands down have never felt better. And what I say by that, nothing to do with the weight, it's to do with how I felt. I slept like a baby every single night. I had vivid dreams every night that I remembered, like amazing dreams. I felt like I had brain clarity. I didn't feel groggy when I woke up. Everything just felt better. My headaches, now I know I had the migraine Botox before I went in. So I almost wish I didn't get that so that I could know for sure if the food helped. I had one migraine in there coming, took my medication, it was gone. Nothing, no headaches. And I get a headache every day. The second I got out, I've had 3 headaches in the last week, but I didn't have one the entire time. And it's got to be, it's less stress, but there has to be some link with food, with like sugars, preservatives, caffeines, MSGs, like all this stuff. There has to be, because I've never eaten so cleanly in my life, and it's the first time I have had weeks of no headaches. It was amazing.
There were so many questions that came in, but one of the big ones is obviously there's a charity element to the whole thing. Do you also get paid?
Do we get paid?
Do you get paid?
Oh, yes. You have to get paid because you give up your job. A lot of people won't get paid from their work. I had to take some leave without pay here
From radio.
So people negotiate whatever they think they need to go in. In complete honesty, they offered me a number to go in and I said no because it didn't even cover. I would lose money. That's what it was. They're like, oh, that's all we have. And I was like, that's okay. I appreciate it. But like, I'm
not doing it.
I can't do it for that with what, So they renegotiated for me and everyone had different salaries, but no one talks about it.
Yeah.
No one. You can tell who got, Frankie would have got the most,
I think,
down.
I mean, I don't know if it's come out publicly, but Sky did. So Pete Depler, who works at KJ, Carl and Jackie O, for anyone who doesn't know.
Yeah.
They'll ask any question, right? They don't care. And Sky
answered
it without realizing that it was embargoed. She was like, I got paid this much. So if you guys want to look, I don't want to say it in case it hasn't made it out, but
she said.
30K.
Okay.
I
think she got 40.
Do you reckon?
Well, she told me 40.
That's
but
interesting.
I don't know. Maybe it was 30 and she bumped it up. I don't know.
I was like, I don't want to say it, 30K.
But Sky's funny because you know what? I don't want to be the person.
Fuckload of money.
Yeah. Yes, it is. But Sky is hilarious because they called her because she just wants to be on reality TV. She hasn't been on since she was 20. So they called her and said, would you like to do it? She goes, I'll do it for free. You don't have to pay me. I was like, Sky, why did you tell them you'd do it for free? I was like, and she goes, I just wanted to be on TV. And I was like, bro, it's still a job. Like,
you will be for free. That's exactly. They will fucking use you for free. Channel 10. They need all the money they can get.
So
they got a lot of court cases at the moment. Fucking hell. Okay, well, I'm leaving the spiciest one to last, and some sicko wanted to know, did anybody or were you able to self-pleasure in the time?
Get one off. Rub it out.
Did you give your nut one out while you were in there? Did you finger blast yourself whilst you were in camp?
Laura, how old are you, 15?
Oh, I'm the one who took it too far.
Yeah, finger blast. Rub one out. It's better than finger blast. Ew.
Sorry.
Your rank. Not a funny question. Lots of people ask that. You can, of course. You can do what you want, but I guess you would go to the toilet to do it because you're not going to do it on
No one
camera.
is masturbating in a drop toilet.
Oh, no. So this is what Callum said, right? Callum put it in a really great way. He's like, the chick of my dreams could walk in here right now and want to bang, and I wouldn't do it. He's like, I do not have the energy to even perform. I don't have the energy to even lay here. You're so depleted that you're not horny because you can't. But I did often wake up with my hand on my boob, or because I sleep like that anyway. Like that, me holding my boob is a comfort thing. I always wake up like that, and sometimes my hand was like on my crotch, but I was just holding it because
Britt,
that's what I do.
I fucking forgot about this. It was the exit interview for Michelle Bridges, and they like flashed back to Camp Live, and you were just laying there with your hand in your pants. Just like this.
That's my comfort
and it
thing.
It stayed on you for an uncomfortable amount of time, and it was just you with your hands in your pants holding your vagina.
Yep.
They didn't just go to another shot. They just stayed on you, a lock shot of you with your hands in your pants.
Yeah, why would you? There's nothing to be ashamed of.
Nothing. Live your best life.
It's always been my comfort thing. So like literally, it's
yeah,
not
but not
you're
like
doing-
you're like, yeah, I know, I do it as well. Just
I'm
hold
doing
your
it
vagina.
now. Yeah. I feel like a man cupping his bit.
But all your boob. I hold a boob.
Yeah, my
A boob is fine. I feel like a boob is less because it's usually on the outside. If you were like in your top just holding a titty, heavy.
Well, yeah, and also the
Sorry,
crutch.
cameras.
I'm hoping no one saw me holding my crutch because it was in my sleeping bag asleep.
No, you were holding your crutch.
Oh no,
on camera.
I mean when I woke up, when I didn't know I was doing it, because there was a lot. Because I was like, what else was I subconsciously doing down there? So yeah, there's definitely no one's masturbating, but like, yeah, if you ever saw me with my hands on private parts of my own private parts, it's a comfort thing. I've always done it. I'll always do it. I'm not ashamed of it.
All right. Well, I know usually on a Tuesday's episode we will do suck and sweet, but we figured, Britt, since you've had zero fucking airtime on this podcast in the last X amount of weeks, and you guys know exactly what's been happening in Keeshia and my life, we wanted to just do a jungle suck and sweet. So things are going to be a little bit different. But what was the worst thing that happened whilst you were on the show?
The worst thing was probably, like for me in terms of trials, was the pig nipple for sure. The eating trial for me. I knew it was going to be bad. I didn't even eat meat really when I went into the jungle. Pig nipples on...
It makes me feel sick just thinking about it.
Yeah, it was actually vomitous. And can I just say, in my defense, I know that I was the only one that vomited in all the eating trials. There is a reason, and Robert told me. I don't know if it made it to air yet, but what I ate was pig nipples on a stink bug smushed together cake. And the stink bugs have this protection mechanism. The whole reason that they survive and they don't get eaten by animals is they smell so bad and they release this thing in their mouth that is so potent that animals physically can't swallow them. You vomit it up. And that is the reason I was swallowing it. It was getting down to like my collarbones and coming back up. Like my body was like, fuck no.
Whoa.
It's impossible. As much as it's mind over matter, it's not. This was a visceral reaction from my body that was expelling the stink bug. And I could feel the nipples like tickling the epiglottis, like the back of my throat, the whole nipple. It was disgusting.
So then, because they only showed a little bit, they showed it, made it look like you kind of just gagged it up.
Oh, they had to cut it. 10 minutes vomiting, like horrific. That trial, that was sitting in my mouth for 20 minutes. With my mouth closed, trying to swallow, back up, keeping it in. I tried so hard and they couldn't, everyone was like, you can do it. And I was like, I physically can't. It's going down and my body is expelling it. Vomited everywhere, but they had to cut all that because it was not very nice.
It's disgusting.
So that was the worst.
I don't understand why they air that at 7:30 at like dinner time. No one can watch it. It is honestly the most, watching someone almost vomit is worse than vomiting yourself.
Yeah, the gag. But I ate the intestine thing. That was disgusting.
Michelle Bridges did it for the team, ate 3 penises.
I'd rather eat a dick.
Oh, the same. I've eaten 3 dicks in my life.
At the same time. Give me a penis any day of the week. Give me Sky's vagina. Not Sky's vagina. Sky ate a vagina. Sky ate a sheep fanny. Great. Piece of meat. Even had a clitoris on it, but she was like, it was fine. She ate a sheep's clitoris. And I had a nipple. Yeah, it was.
She ate the clitoris.
It had a full vagina
Fuck,
on it.
that's
It had
so
the slit.
funny.
Yeah, it had the flaps and then the clitoris on it. It was a flap. It was a sheep flap. It was a fanny flap. It was a sheep's fanny flap.
It was a labia. Someone's going to come to us. Someone will listen to this podcast and be like, call it what it is. It's a vulva.
Whatever. It's funnier to say she had a sheep's fanny flap with a clitoris. So she actually said that was pretty good. It was just like a bit of meat. But yeah.
It was pretty good. Wasn't Tristan the one that was like, I'll have some of that?
Dude, Tristan, I've never seen anyone eat a testy like Tristan did. He sucked the testy down whole. He was blood on it.
Are they cooked? Is the meat cooked?
It has to be cooked to whatever level is safe to consume.
So it's like boiled.
But it doesn't, they do not taste like they are.
They haven't cooked it with, they don't cooked it with herbs and spices. They just like blanch it.
I'm not convinced my intestines were cooked. I am not convinced.
No, because offal, it would have been. Offal, when it's cooked, goes like white and...
Okay, stop.
Yeah.
I was there.
Offal's bad.
Yeah,
It's like,
yes, it is.
like, have you ever eaten cooked tripe?
Well, one night we had offal for dinner in a fat membrane. That was our star dinner. We won that. It was the worst night of my life.
Were you just like, what the fuck is this absolute fuckery?
I think that's the only time
This
they
is
showed me in the
not-
first 2 weeks was like, I'm not fucking eating that.
That's like, this is not a prize.
Yeah, it was not a prize.
This is mean.
And then my sweet of the whole show, my favorite day was towards the end. Steve and Callum and I did a trial that was the worst school carnival ever. And we were like spun around on this thing.
Yeah. That was funny.
Off camera, I cannot tell you, we laughed hysterically from the moment we walked in for like 5 hours later. We were on the ground in hysterics. Like so much was happening. And that was what I needed to keep me going. Because I was like, this is the day I needed in the jungle. Hands down, the best day.
Callum was in a sack with poison ivy,
Yeah.
was it? Or
Yeah.
stinging nettles? Stinging nettles.
Yeah. But it was this spinny thing. They cut. I wish I could I'll try and find the raw material of me. It was like something was going. I was so much lighter than the boys. They even said after, I thought I was going to die. I was screaming for help. I was like, my head is coming off my body and my hands were being robbed off my back. Like my body was contorting, and even Stephen and Callum were like, I don't think this is right. And then after it, the production team were like, well, we didn't expect that to happen. And I was like,
Where's Risky when you need him?
well, they were just laughing. They were like, I think she's okay. But my body was an angle it shouldn't have been. And I could not control it. It was so funny.
It's like when you go on, have you ever been on the Gravitron at like the Easter Carnival where you get sucked to the wall?
It was like that on steroids.
So when I was really little, I must have been like 10 years old, my mum let me go on that and I vomited. But if you vomit on the Gravitron, the vomit doesn't go anywhere. The vomit stays still, but everyone else spins around the vomit. So everyone on the Gravitron got smacked by my vomit. The end. That was bad. It was really bad. And do you have an accidentally unfiltered from the jungle?
I feel like the funniest parts of the jungle were, and I don't think they would have ever shown it, but it was at nighttime. So everything's quiet. And
Farting.
Oh, it was like an orchestra. And like I'd often be the last to go to bed. It was an orchestra. Callum was the worst. I could hear him from across the thing, but everyone was just letting rip. The women, the men, but they're asleep, so you don't know. But it was like the whole night. And I just thought, this would have been the best montage.
Did you try and figure out who had done it?
I told everyone every morning. I was like, who wants to know who farted? And I would just tell them, but it was hilarious.
So completely asleep doing it, or they were just like, whatever, didn't care anymore.
No, they're asleep. Yeah. Yeah,
So
they were
good.
asleep. No one actually was walking around letting them rip like on camera. If it ever came out, it was a whoopsie. But at night, when you're unconscious, it was just the best montage. The production, I think, should have put a montage of farting together.
Why don't they just do that? Like it's funny.
It's so funny. Yeah.
Even if it's just like, a little like in the middle of the night as like a little before it goes to break.
Oh, it was the best. But for me, I used to lay in bed and chuckle the whole night and like keep tallies. I probably let them rip as soon as I passed out too, but no one was ever awake to hear that.
Why? What time were people going to sleep?
We don't know.
As soon as it got dark, or were people up for a while?
No, I reckon some days it would have been 2 a.m. Some days it would have been 11 because you film into the night. You film like the little trials and stuff at night.
Got you.
So you don't know. I could not tell you. But there were some days we were like, for sure that had to have been 2, 3 a.m. But it was just like the whole thing was a lol. The whole thing was a lolcano. Oh, I slipped lolcano in for you.
I know, and it was so embarrassing for you. No one knew what you were saying.
Couldn't care less.
Everyone was like, what does that mean?
No, I explained it.
Yeah, it doesn't work when you have to explain it, which we've always said.
Think of how many more people know what lolcano is now. And my mission when I...
No one is better for it.
My mission when I went in there, I was like, one mission is to slip this on national television just so you would cringe in your lounge room. And I know you would have.
I did. And I saw it as it was happening, and everybody's confused face it gave me so much affirmation that everyone was just as confused as what I am.
No, everyone was walking around using it after that. They went their whole life without knowing what it was.
6 years of lolcano. No, everybody knows what it is. It's like 10 years old. The saying was said 10 years ago, back in 2013.
When have I ever cared about the trends?
When Chrissy Swan was on Big Brother, that's the era. That's the ilk.
Sorry, what part of me looks like I care?
No, not me anyway. Anyway, guys, that is pretty much it from us. Britt, I'm so happy that you're back. I'm so happy that, I hope you got out of it what you went in there for.
Well, I wanted to win.
So, okay, you did it. I hope you got something out of it. But also, I think it's so cool to be able to say yes to these opportunities where you do things that put you so far outside your comfort zone. You don't know what it is it's almost like you can't go in there with an expectation around what you want out of it because you don't know what you're expecting. And I think every reality TV show is kind of like that, where you're like, the beast of it, but at the same time, you really don't know what it is that you're going to feel or how you're going to think about it because it's a completely foreign experience.
Yeah, and I genuinely, I say I wanted to win. Of course I did. You want to win for your charity and you go in there and go through it all for that point. But I loved every second. I had a great time. I made friends. It was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And I just want to thank all you guys for supporting me. And I know how many of you were sending the votes in. Obviously not enough, but we'll leave that one.
No, people were
joking.
And every episode we drilled that fucking fact home and people were so amazing. Like everyone sharing on socials, everyone voting.
Joking. I know you guys. I'm not going to hold it against you. I thank you so much for your support because I have seen it since I've come out and it really warmed my heart. And for producer Keeshia and Jono and you, Laura, holding down the fort, doing my socials, doing such an amazing job and supporting me from the outside. But
anyway, guys, that is it from us. We'll be back tomorrow with an interview episode and then things are back just as they were.
Yep, back to
like
normal.
nothing ever happened.
Yep, like I never left.
All right, well, that's it. You know the drill.
Tell your mum, tell your dad, tell your dog, tell your friends, and share the love because
We love love!